Let me just convert it to presentation mode. 1 second. To make sure it.
So you'll have to click
editing,
on.
sir.
Yeah, I know, and I'm trying to do that.
Okay.
Why is it not?
First.
Sure.
It's done?
Yeah, this is
Yes.
perfect. Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Sorry,
So-
got caught up in a call, got delayed.
Welcome, sir. We are so proud that you're here today to discuss the real future of e-commerce. Thank you, sir.
Great.
My pleasure.
Great. So I think we should.
Hello, can you hear me?
Please start, Purvi.
Yeah.
Is there an echo here by any chance, or is it just me?
I can't hear any echo.
No?
We are good.
Okay. Okay, great, great. So without much further ado, namaskar and welcome to the Masterclass series of Being Future Ready. This is, of course, a masterclass that we do with Vadhvani Foundation. Before we start, Sorry, there's a glitch, but I'll continue. So before we start, we have the agenda here. We'll quickly share and introduce who we are. We'll share our partners, IIM Bangalore, NEGD, and of course ourselves, Vadhvani Institute of Technology and Policy. Before we begin the introductions, we would also like to share that in this masterclass, we will have the first part through the expert speak, which is from our honorable guest, Mr. T. Koshi. And in the course of his monologue, we will also request our audience to write your questions in the chat. We will have those questions selected and those questions will be moderated by us in the second half of this masterclass. So the second half of the masterclass will be Q&A. So without much further ado, I'd like to invite Shri Venkatesh from IIM Bangalore to introduce CSITM. Venkatesh,
Thank you,
over to
Purvi.
you.
Thank you, Purvi. I'm Venkatesh Balakrishnan, Manager for the Center for Software and IT Management of IIM Bangalore. On behalf of the Center and IIM Bangalore, I take pleasure in welcoming the esteemed speaker for today's event, Mr. Koshi, Purvi, and the entire of Vadhvani team, Rajnish Ji, Puneet, and the entire of NEGD team, and all the participants for today's event. I shall give a very brief introduction. CSITM is IIM Bangalore Center of Excellence on Digital Technology Management. It was started in 1998, and Professor Shankati Banerjee is the current chair for the center. And it has always been serving as a hub for open exchange of information across academia, government, and industry. And it has developed a huge network of resources. And from that angle, this masterclass series is of very big importance because it brings all of them together. In terms of the activities, the center supports research and training activities through seminars and webinars such as this, and also workshops on contemporary topics. One of the key upcoming events is the 6th edition of the Software Product Management Summit, which has been scheduled for February of 2024. Incidentally, all the participants in this series are related to software product management big time. You can participate as speakers, panelists, paper presenters, as academic speakers, or nominate your products for excellence awards. And we will be reaching out to you apart from the digital media postings. We would be reaching out to you as well. So look forward to your participation. And today's event is even more important to us because Mr. Koshi is an alumnus of IIM Bangalore. I am sure some of the professors and all colleagues of Mr. Koshi will be either participating or watching the recordings. And welcome you, sir. And with that, I hand it back to Purvi to take today's event forward.
Wonderful. So I would now like to also invite on the stage to introduce NEGD to us, welcome our speaker. Of course, Rajnish sir has already done that. So we have Rajnish Kumar ji, who's the director at NEGD. Sir, over to you.
Well, thank you all. I think the audience is all waiting for Koshi, sir. NEGD is National E-Governance Division with the Ministry of Electronics and IT, responsible for all the e-governance projects in the country at the center. And we also indulge in capacity building of states and UTs to get the emerging technologies into the state. So welcome, sir. We're all waiting for your exposition on digital commerce. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So at this note, we would like to quickly introduce WITP. We are a part of the Vardhani Foundation, and our aim is to enable digital transformation that increases the impact and outcomes from government policy and initiatives. And we work out of 3 specific areas, one being the skilling and academy, where we are focused on delivering classroom training as well as self-paced courses to upskill across various digital platforms. And we also focus on technology enabling, where we are able to demonstrate on various emerging technologies and their implementations in government operations. And we also focus on program and policy advocacy, where we are focused on digital missions on skilling and entrepreneurship, policy advocacy on data policies and data strategies. I'm very, very happy and excited to introduce our 12th honorable speaker in the 12th episode of this series of Being Future Ready, none other than Mr. P. Koshi, who is well known for ONDC. He's the MD and CEO of the Open Network for Digital Commerce, ONDC, which is a groundbreaking initiative in India aimed at democratizing e-commerce. He brings a wealth of professional experience, being an alumnus of IIM Bangalore, and he has played a foundational role in NSDL as an executive director. His expertise extends to key digital transformation projects, including significant contributions to India's UID project, the world's largest ID program, and various other global digital ID initiatives. Mr. Koshi extends his expertise to several pivotal digital transformation projects within India, such as revamping the pension system, developing the tax information network, and strategizing the IT architecture for implementing GST. He's also lent his expertise to the World Bank's pension transformation projects and participated in a pension reform mission in China. He's been a valuable member at SEBI committees focusing on dematerialized settlement of securities and mutual funds, as well as RBI committees related to the online tax accounting system for direct and indirect tax. Additionally, he has contributed to the subgroup on technology of the Tax Administration Reform Commission of the Government of India, working on reforms for tax administration efficiency for both direct and indirect tax. Mr. Koshi plays an important role in numerous e-government initiatives encompassing the Unique ID project, Expenditure Information Network, Project Platinum for Legal and IT Framework Development in the Ministry of Urban Development, the Common Data Repository for the insurance sector, e-stamping, and the automation of back functions in various Indian states. We are excited and honored to have you as our speaker for this masterclass series, sir. All yours. Over to you.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you. So, thank you. Welcome. Good morning to you all. And so what I understand from the organizers that we have a large and disparate crowd. Some of you would be very clued on to the, the whole development that's happening. Some of you are, not so clued on. Some of you may have a big picture view. Some of you have a, deeper understanding of ONDC. So since anyway, so what I'm going to do is to sort of work almost on the lowest common denominator, in the sense, I'll be sort of putting the whole context of ONDC, how it's evolved, why is it evolved, or why has it evolved, where we are now, what is a roadmap that we are expecting, and so on and so forth. So and I'll be giving a sort of top line view, and I will also draw your attention to lots of material that has been made available, online. And of course, today's session, if there is the last probably, I think, half an hour, you may focus on, being sort of focus on asking questions so that we can have a more interactive session than a pure monologue. So let me just get going on this thought process, and just putting the whole context in place for for all of us here. If you remember, of course, TCP/IP made wide area network possibility. Computers across continents or across buildings can talk to each other. But those days, many of you, I mean, most of you are youngsters, probably you don't remember those good old days or bad old days when we were, I still remember as a student, that only the smart geeks guy could do all this intercontinental access and so on and so forth. And sometime late 80s thing, we had the whole Tim Lee came and launched or rather made HTTP available as a public infrastructure, and that actually changed the way the information sharing happens over the internet around the world. I remember reading somewhere, then he said either it will change the world, or this HTTP will change the world, or it will mean nothing to anybody. But because nobody knew what's going to happen, but as you all know, it changed the world. And to begin with, what was there was only information sharing, that people could make broadcast and make their information available in a standard protocol, and there could be different browsers which are following the which are using the same protocol could discover that. So information sharing that way was a very democratic process. So long as you could create a web page or a portal or anything on a using HTTP as a protocol, any browsers which can read the HTTP, HTML pages could see that. So what sort of determined primarily the traffic to any website was the content. Okay, what the website provider did. So the control was in the provider's hand with respect to the content that he gave, the quality of content, the relevance of the content, and the publicity that he gave to the content in the different medium. And that he was then discoverable by any of the browsers, and the traffic was primarily based on his own action. It didn't matter whether some user used Chrome, or some user used Edge, or somebody uses Internet Explorer. So it was independent of that. So the somebody who is helping them to be discovered did not play any role with respect to the traffic that is there. Similarly, that was on the information sharing. Then came the messaging, which is all what you call or the email. There again, this same democratic idea is what prevailed. Is that there could be different email service providers, either as a public, for anybody could use like the Google or Yahoo, or there could be some email service providers which are exclusives to some organization which is running only the messaging within their organization. But all of them, if they use SMTP as a protocol, could talk to each other. So whichever platform gives email service to a client, and with whatever facilities that is there, they could always share an information with another email account holder from any other service provider, which is again because of an open protocol SMTP here. Whereas when it came to the commerce, which was the third third stage of this evolution of internet, where people could do commerce. That means somebody could sell and somebody could buy. That went in a slightly different domain, on a route where the service provider, which established platforms, were using proprietary protocol, not an open protocol, which meant that the sellers and buyers which are present in one platform could be visible and transact with each other and not with anybody else. So essentially, if you look at those, led to what we call more walled gardens. So which meant that in any domain there would be only few players who will take the majority market share, and after that they are unseatable. If you look at that has been the strategy in every domain, whether it is from consumer goods, whether it is in travel, whether it is in food, in any of them, you would see few enterprises coming quite a lot of resources, throwing a lot of resources to get an exclusive user base of buyers and sellers, and then they are practically, unseatable from that one. If you look at the consumer side, the commerce side, consumer product side, if you look at about globally, about 4 entities together hold more than 45% of the market share. And the same is the case even if you look at India or many of the countries. What you will see is a concentration of few platforms who had the resources to capture a significant percentage of the market share. That's why, and they normally focused on certain large domain like consumer goods. It could be food, or it could be ride hailing, or it could be hospitality, and so on and so forth. What it meant that in any of this domain where there are 2 or 3 players who have managed to get the predominant market share, would ensure that the new players will practically find it impossible to join. So there is entry barriers. And in a way, if you look at each of this platform has almost the buyer and seller almost as their captive user base. It is not because of any legal restrictions. Some cases there is to be even less legal restrictions. Some platforms say if you're selling through my platform, you can't sell it to any other platform. Even if those contracts are not there, for a seller to be present in multiple platforms, it means that he would have to have legal, procedural, contractual, all processes which are unique to each of them being established. So that sort of led to certain kind of what you call the captivity. And there is significant amount of information asymmetry with the players in the middle. Who help to talk the buyer and sellers have significantly more information, which help them to have undue influence on the buyer, and help them to make very often unfair demands on the seller, because they are practically captive. Okay. While each of this entity did humongous amount of innovation to make their services meaningful for their customer clients to maximize their, the shareholders' return, broad-based innovation was limited, because if I had anything smart to offer in an e-commerce or in food domain, either I could go and make it available to existing players, who may have their priority on who should be the buyers and sellers, whereas I will not have any capability to, drive my innovation. So in that way, it also limits the avenues for buyers, sellers, and in the whole, when such, hold is there for limited players, either as monopoly or oligopoly, there, the overall cost has a tendency to go up, because they may not be the best in terms of optimizing the cost of every building blocks of commerce. Okay, so this was the this challenge. So in a broad base, if you look at the while most of the countries and continents went in terms of having these kind of if I use the word East India companies who have maximizing the interests of few shareholders in every domain, practically having in the domain in their control. India went in a different way of having what we call digital public infrastructure. What is actually, if I just use the common parlance, like digital rails on which the every enterprises could run their business in the best possible interest for themselves as well as for their clients, bringing in significant amount of competition and providing a free play possibility for every player. So that you would have seen, I don't want to go into that one, you would have seen that, the foundations of that is being built with respect to Aadhaar, which is like a universal ID, foundation ID, which, which sort of brought down the cost of KYC from, some approximately from 500-600 rupees to maybe 3 rupees. And which essentially significantly helped different service providers to grow their access in a very, very fast fashion. Probably would have heard the case study saying that Reliance Jio, the telco, when they came in, the Aadhaar-based, KYC helped their speed and kept their costs down, that they managed to do something like, 100 million in 6 months' time, which wouldn't have been possible in the absence of that kind of infrastructure. Same thing you would have seen in the payment infrastructure, the UPI, which essentially made a huge made a very fast adoption of digital transactions in the payment side, helped by similar Jan Dhan account, which is like digital accounts, which is sort of opened, using all this electronic infrastructure to manage something like more than 50 billion accounts in a very short period of time, which helped the transmission of digital benefits very, very fast without leakage. So as you would have heard this comment saying that India would have taken about 46 years to go from 18% to 80% bank account penetration. But with this kind of digital infrastructure, we managed to do that in practically 6 years' time. If you look at ONDC, Open Network Digital Commerce, draws its foundation, a philosophical foundation and infrastructural support and the complementing systems in the same, what we currently call as India stack. So the idea is to reimagine digital commerce, make it democratic and equitable, is a thought process with a very broad-based participation. So if I just expand a little more, what it says, I earlier explained to you the idea of proprietary platforms and impact. What is just schematically present here on the left side is the current platforms, just for, ease of understanding, I just sort of showed only 2 building blocks in every platform. Is the building blocks of buyer interface and seller interface. On the left side, I've said the sellers, which is somebody who has something to sell, and the buy side, somebody who wants something. And each of them have their interface provided by the platform to meet their requirement with respect to participation in the platform. So what it meant that since all of them are working on proprietary protocol, if a seller was there in a platform A, he is visible only to consumers in platform A. And somebody like S2 here on the left side wanted to be present in 2 platforms, he would have had to do all the integration, digital, contractual, legal, procedural process, everything for both of them, and also equip himself to meet the expectation with respect to the offers for each of them separately and so on and so forth. He had very limited control. So that's how we said as earlier, like it leads to probably only a few players taking majority of market share. And once they are there, nobody can come and touch them unless somebody humongously large come with lots of resources to sort of, capture the size from somebody else. You have seen that in every segment. Okay, so what the idea of open network is only 2 simple principles. One is unbundling. That means any of the building blocks of the transactions can be unbundled and make them all interoperable. So that's what you're seeing on the right side. For us, I said for simplicity purpose, I've kept only the buyer interface and seller interface separately. Buyer interface is coming through platform X, Y, Z, and seller interface is coming through platform P, Q, and R. And the sellers which are managed to make their catalogs visible and establish the process for consummation of a transaction through platform X on the left side are now visible to any buyers coming from any of the platform PQR on the right side, which is looking after interest of the buyer. So the need to, the S1 to be independently integrating with XYZ is gone. And that has been made possible by ONDC protocol, which essentially builds on the open source backend protocol with a thin layer of, which is essentially enabling transactions on the top of which there's a thin layer of commerce related, parameters added, making the total thing what we call the ONDC protocol for convenience sake. And which is, as I said, founded on a open source backend protocol, which is a foundation. And even as a collective total ONDC protocol, what we have made it is even that is under CCND. That means it's available for anybody to use as they want, so long as they recognize the usage in here in India. And even there in the ONDC protocol, the backend part of it is a completely under MIT. I mean, like anybody can take it and do anything what they want to do as they fit keys as per the broader, open licensing arrangement that is there. So that's the whole transformation we are trying to do. So now if you extend your imagination, you can see that the building blocks need not be only, the seller interface and buyer interface, logistics, warehousing, packaging, sometimes assaying. All of them are different building blocks. And all of them, since we'll be using this protocol, it means that they can be nicely stitched together to get a seamless experience to the end consumer. I'm sure that you're all familiar with this unbundling in every business, whether it's a banking operation or whether it is manufacturing of car, or in the service side, whether it is giving telecom service. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with the Virgin mobile model, where they have only practically a CRM software and a billing software, with everything else is third-party service providers. All of them nicely stitched together by Virgin to get a seamless experience to the end consumer by Virgin Mobile, and handle any of his grievances by the Virgin Mobile itself, with the seamless integration they have with all the support component providers. So so the way India proceeded was that there had been initiative came from the Ministry of Commerce at the time of pandemic to sort of improve the access the consumer as well as the stores have for each other. And then instead of original thought was to sort of develop something like a specialized Kirana app or something like that. But then when the subject matter experts sat together and discussed that is a very, very short-termish approach. But can we look at something which is transformatory, which can completely change the way? And that's when the people, the Ministry of Commerce, DPIT also brought in experts from the field, and also brought some giants in this field like Nanthan Reddy and R.S. Sharma, and people like Asbe and Dilip Asbe of UPI, and all came together and said, we should use the same thought what helped us to design the UPI, which is can be used here. So if you look at any business transaction, there are two sides. One side is the money movement from the buyer to the seller, and the other side is the goods offer and the contract with respect to goods or service. So what UPI did was for the money side, and what ONDC said that let's try to, what the experts said, let's try to do the same philosophical principle on the sell side, which is on the products and services. So the work under the guidance of this advisory council, working with the Minister of Commerce, Piyush Goyal, and his DPIT team, started shaping this agenda, and decided to set up an independent company as OpenNet for Digital Commerce, which is sort of given the responsibility of developing this network across the country. So to give the flexibility and agility of this, the ministry decided that it has to set up as an independent company, and to drive its motivation is being set up as a Section 8, which is a not-profit company, so that their job is to act as a utility, providing an infrastructure service to everybody with smart people could build components on the top, and provide services to either the sellers or the buyers in a very seamless fashion, and the protocol sort of stitching them all together so that the user experience is in no way compromised. So that's what the thought was. The company was formed in 2021, December 31st. And during the first, and then we started getting the people on board. And as you would have realized, it's a network. There is no central infrastructure what the ONDC has to do. ONDC in that is an orchestrator, putting the common things for everybody to work together in terms of basic, the protocol, the registry of the people participating, and the policies for the policies between the house rules of how the network should operate. And so, which means that it has to demo, and it is a new idea. Nobody had ever done before. So it has to work in an organic fashion. So 29th of April 2022 is when there are some early adopters of sellers and buyers established a few seller applications and one buyer application and one logistics provider came together to sort of demonstrate transaction between them. And then, and each of the sellers encourage their, friends, relatives, and consumers to transact here. Because there's no point in telling the whole world that this is, sellers and buyers are there, because a normal buyer who will expect, diverse choices that today he's familiar with. Whereas here in a city, let's say if you have one seller doing some grocery, and it is relevant only to a small segment of people. So what we also said that let's try to touch on the very difficult part, which is a hyper local part, which is like we started with grocery and food and added soon after the mobility, because if you look at, they were all hyper local. In fact, when it comes to food, it is even have a desperate timing issue. And, the people, all of us, we said that let's try to demonstrate the possibility here. And by, like I said, added by something 5 cities, few merchants and one buying application, one logistic provider coming together to demonstrate. And over the next 6 months, we sort of expanded the presence of sellers across the cities to 80 cities. And in some of the cities, we said, let's start to have a concentration of sellers so that, when there is a sort of proliferation of sellers, so that we can tell the public at large to come and check out their experience. So October of last year, we said in Bangalore, we are going to make it open it to a number of pin codes where any buyer could come and buy and sort out whatever is the teething issues with respect to technology, processes, packaging, handshake between the entities, and so on and so forth. And in January, we started, that broad-based information enough with respect to our beta test, telling our buyers in the Bangalore city, come check it out. So if you look at, what was there, is that we had in January, we had something like 50 transactions a day, 40 to 50 transactions a day in January on grocery and food. And with the addition of mobility and so on and so forth, we have in the last month, it was about 160,000 transactions. Now it's about 180,000 transactions a day. With retail now when I made this catalog, the deck, it was 53. Now it's about 65, 70,000 in the last 1 week of increase. And mobility is doing, 110,000. And a number of the network participants are enabling these people to do. And they together brought a lot of merchants. We have something like 800 merchants in the beginning of the year. Is now 200,000 2 weeks ago. Now it's about 220,000 2 weeks ago, with about 1.2 crores of SKUs, which is also fast growing. So the kind of network participants who are there, the buying side, selling side, logistics side, you would see there are about 57,000 totally, with about 12,000 other entities under different stages of their process of being on board onto the network, as either as a buyer platform, seller platform, or an inventory seller platform, or purely coming as a seller through some integrators and so on and so forth. So you would see, very broad array of people from all the major logistics players like Shiprocket and Delivery, buying application like PhonePe and Paytm. PhonePe has, in fact, launched an exclusive app called PIN code, which is essentially enabling commercial transaction. And somebody like Ola, who has been, who helps people to hail cabs, are now realize, hey, I can do a lot more to my consumer. In fact, they started by offering them ONDC food. If you go to their, the application, you would see if you want to buy food, your facility. And I understand that beyond food, they'll be adding many more other components, so that for the existing digital consumers, they can have more and more offers being given at practically very limited marginal cost. And we are seeing this kind of idea being embraced by people like telcos, fintechs, banks, and logistics company, and so on and so forth. And if I just give you an example, Prime sort of Shiprocket was a primarily a logistics aggregator, logistics player. They joined ONDC as an ONDC shipment, a player providing logistics service in the network. Then they said, hey, I have integration with quite a lot of sellers for whom I'm helping them to transport their product. And now I can help them to make their catalogs visible by being a seller application with a marginal integration. So now they have started adding, significant amount of sellers, especially B2C merchants, etc., to be directly to be available on the ONDC network through their platform. So that way, it helped them to expand their area of operation from being a logistic provider to being a network, like a next layer of service as an e-commerce player to help the sellers to sell their products, not just transport their product. And we also see enterprises like Google. I'm sure you would have seen the announcement. Google has said that they've come out with ONDC on the box. They are working. They are also making different interesting engineering, sophisticated engineering solutions like AI and etc. For different smart enterprises to adopt for their requirement in the open ONDC network. And to demonstrate this power, they have even, you would have seen the announcement of Building for Bharat, their competition that they've launched for a hackathon to help people to build on top of the engineering infrastructure they provide, to provide smart components in the ONDC ecosystem, either as a seller app or a buyer app, and so on and so forth.
So a quick time check. We are at 10:41. So perhaps another 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's it. Another 5 minutes to 6 minutes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
And like I said, we are expecting the growth like we are in 2023, probably. This is our expectation, minimum expectation in terms of the, the growth that we are coming. So like I said, while we started with consumer food, the grocery, food and mobility, we have now added quite a broad array of products. And the last 2 months, you would see different, like fashion sort of picking up, home and kitchen picking up, agriculture, B2C picking up, and quite health and wellness. Even financial products is, we just announced the protocol and probably expect financial products being available. So if I just give you big expectation with respect to what is this eventually could be in the next 5 to 7 years, because a transformative project at this population scale would have a very, very, broad arena in which it operates. So essentially, if I just make one statement, every product or service which is catalogable now will be made available in the ONDC network through ONDC protocol, with diverse kind of buying application, helping their buyers to buy what is relevant for them. And the buyer application in that way focuses on protecting the buyer's interest and not to push any product that the sellers are giving them with some extra incentive. So now the conflict of interest also gets removed, and the buyers, the buying application will become truly buyer's agent, and the selling application will become truly seller's agent. Just to give you some of the way in which it has helped different kinds of people, because of the equality and opportunity for big and small. Unlike the current operations where it is focused and concentrated towards a large one, we see the impact being made in different domains. I'll just give you some examples. So while it is in no way focused only on small enterprises, what we are trying to create an inclusive enterprise, big and small, everybody can participate. And the big guys anyway knew how to handle their life in the digital world, but the small guys could never. So just give you some example of the Kudumbashri, which is a SHG from Kerala, which has managed about 1,200 plus orders in the last few months. They're figuring out how to, now they've made their products available. Now they're collectively figuring out how to use this to, improve their customer access. Similarly, like, some examples of, silk weavers. Earlier, they were only selling to some established brands who were the only means of their access to market. Now, they can have direct access to market, which is also helping them to sort of enhance their sales. Or even somebody like an auto driver, he says, my monthly earnings have increased 3 times. And that's a reason you would have seen the Honorable Prime Minister also, referring to this. And if you look at the way different subject matter experts or the industry expert come, for example, Antler came and said it's going to create an 80 billion opportunity for startups. You would have seen the McKinsey report, which says 3 to 4 times growth in the digital commerce in different segments. This is also a public report available. You can download. So actually, if you look at logistics, commerce, and financial services all come together using a stitched together in the experience for the consumers and sellers, which is helping them even broader complementary things like, cheaper credit, wider discoverability, better risk management by having different unique insurance product coming in and so on and so forth. So all towards a vision of building in India into a 10 trillion economy. So I would just stop by saying that this is an idea whose time has come and you're not going to stop. Nobody is going to stop it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, sir, for that talk. We have quite a few questions, and to moderate these questions, I'll invite Venkatesh from IIM Bangalore. Venkatesh, please go ahead.
Sure, Prabhi. So the first question is, would it be right to say that agri-goods produced remotely could now be efficiently sold to the seller in the city at farmer's concept, or do you look at this mostly as a game for urbans to grow in urban?
No, absolutely. As I said, a very, very correct point of view. And it is, like I said, small and micro enterprise. For example, the Kanchipuram weavers coming from the Kanchipuram, that segment. In fact, one of the very interesting things I will even highlight to you that while the Kanchipuram weavers suddenly got a visibility and they could sell across the country, which is really, really good. What we also found that the participation in digital commerce in that region also, that town increased significantly. The city has become one of the top 10 or 15 cities with respect to daily transaction in the ONDC network. Because they would have all told, not that everybody is buying Kanchipuram saris. They were now buying other goods from different segments. We have about 2,000 all FPOs who are already onboarded, out of which about 200-300 have started transacting. We have like peanut manufacturers, millet manufacturers, honey manufacturers, now being able to access their clients in the city, and with the logistics provider seamlessly taking it from there and delivering. And this also is triggering a lot of new investment and innovation and participation, even the logistics, because they realize now there could be sellers coming from every part of the country and there could be buyers every part of countries. So even the new logistics providers are coming in and existing logistics providers are enhancing their presence, and even warehouse as a service. So eventually this is how it will all nicely stitch together.
Thank you, sir. And there was another question, in fact, a couple of questions which are related. You touched upon this. This is related to the customer or supplier experience. The question is, I read about ONDC's initial success in food delivery. Customer costs are much lower. Time taken to deliver could be better. And also the reliability could be better. How is this progressing?
Progressing is, okay. See, one of the standard questions that come, I will make it a question a little more blunt. It says that a lot of people, all of us are familiar with digital commerce and a complete integrated end-to-end service. And we believe that's the only way in e-commerce can be done, or the business can be done. So I will, while I will not go into extensive discussion on this, I'll just make a couple of observations. Can you tell any other industry where things are not unbundled and standards helping the different components to be stitched together to give a seamless experience? Nowhere. And again, they'll say, oh, commerce is different. I'm sure that some of the gray-haired people will remember a few years ago, catalog marketing was a big business, multi-billion-dollar business. Where somebody will send a paper catalog by post, and I will look at it, select the products and put it in a cover and send it back to them. They will source this from different components, nicely unbundled architecture working, with a seamless customer experience. What we are now seeing is e-commerce is a much more efficient and smart and quick way of connecting everybody together. So that is why I believe that it will proceed with the same set of efficiency that wins everywhere. And like I said, when something new is starting, there'll definitely be the teething trouble of people figuring it. If I just give you the foods, food became a lot of public because there was somebody made some nice viral video. So in fact, what happened is when we started with grocery and food, in the early few months, 95% was only food. Today, if you look at, while we do about of the total that we do, mobility has gone through the roof, which is like, as I would have said, more than 100,000 transactions a day. And from just 4 cities, out of which Bangalore forms a large chunk. When it comes to non-mobility, about 65,000, out of which about 45% is food, 20% is fashion, and groceries about 10%, and so on and so forth. So we are seeing and electronics another 10%. We are seeing broad-based participation in the food, more than 95%, about 95% of everything get delivered in an hour's time. And what we are doing is all the network participants are collectively coming together with we as an enabler to improve their performance and so on and so forth. So things are, as I said, we started with 1,000 transactions a day, which became everything together, 1,000 in a month. To September, it became 3.3 million in a month, with about 6 lakh in non-mobility. And now in October, half the month, we are already done 6 lakh. So we are happy, but yeah, I would very humbly accept that we are seeing tip of an iceberg. So we have a long way to go, miles to go before we sleep.
From same Mr. Krishna Narayanan, there is some feedback. And as a consumer, please make ONDC more accessible, easily available, even if it means ONDC creating its own buy-side app. Your comments.
The answer to that is, for 2 reasons, we will not create our own buy-side app. What we have done is we have created a buy-side reference app and a sell-side reference app available in GitHub, anybody to do the business. What we are saying is, at this present, we do not want to compete with our own business partners. That is a principle that we have done. And there are a number of them getting added. Like I said, started with Paytm, then PhonePe came, then Magic Pin came, now Ola has come. We have another 10, 15 of them under different stages of integration. And and there are some very nice, interesting startup like My Stores and so on and so forth, which is doing few hundred transactions a day for mostly to artisans and FPOs. So I agree, but we have all these things are there, and they will have to sort of make their presence felt. So we are helping all of them to expand. But at this stage, we are not planning to be come into a conflict of interest with our own partners. That's our current thought process.
Thank you. Another question from Ms. Manisha Rathi, who is a research student in IIM Bangalore. The question is, I understand that ONDC becomes one part of the business who joins the network, like an additional channel, and not the only channel for that business. Is this correct? So what does their existing business, how does their existing business change after joining ONDC?
Oh, it is going to be very diverse for different, whether it is B2C, B2B, agriculture, and so on and so forth. They are now getting what is, in a simple sense, what's happening with everybody who is in business today now gets one more channel. Okay. So based on the kind of business, they will see how important is the channel from the selling side or even sourcing side. But so what we are going to see a significant realignment in the commerce itself. So without going specifically to the name, see some of the very large players in the, let's say in consumer goods and business and so on and so forth, now have put in a team, not just to how to sort of make their products available in the network, which is what they would have done with any of the existing e-commerce entity, but to rethink how their total operations is going to be reimagined. So that's why what we have also done is we have published a very interesting document consolidation of thoughts from the expert with the help of McKinsey. It's available online. But you would also see a different kind of study papers coming from different industry segments on how they anticipate this can make a significant disruption in the way that currently the business is being done. Because it's not just its product, it's credit, it's risk management, it's insurance. All of them are getting a new lease of life or a new energy infusion. All of them having their Red Bull for the evening. And then you could see its impact in the way they operate. So as a research student, I hope that you will pick up those things and bring about this thought soon.
So we have a couple of questions from Professor Neena Pandey of IIM Visakhapatnam. The first question is, what is the incentive for customers to move to ONDC and not directly go and buy from, say, Amazon? especially when the customer is very happy with the services provided by Flipkart or Amazon?
They will be the last one to come. The people who are extremely happy. But incidentally, look at this way. While all of us in this webinar will be using e-commerce, in the total commerce, the penetration of digital commerce is 6 to 7% from the selling side, and the buying side 1 to 2%. So it means that, the focus of these platforms are certain category of the society. So for them, this may be the, but what we are thinking about is enhancement of the participation. Same thing happened if you look at often featured example of UPI. 5 years ago, all of us used to be using digital transaction, and the card, the existing digital transacting players thought that, we will have a growth practically in 3 years' time, we will double. What more can you do? But when the dimensions change, and when innovations was enabled in different segments, building blocks, you saw from 250 million transactions a month to 10 billion transactions a month moving, with the participation growing exponentially. So that's what we are expecting. And of course, as it stabilizes, you would see even the competitive offers coming because of the reduction in the rent-seeking capability of different players. So you saw that in the food segment, and we are seeing similar kind of things. So the customers may see certain advantage, or even may see some broad convenience. For example, there could be one application today. For example, if you go to Paytm, which is a buying application for us, you would see that you can buy consumer goods and you can also order food. Soon you will see you'll be able to hail taxi there. Or if you go on the same thing, if you go to, like, for example, in Ola, you would see multiple things offering. And soon you may even see financial products there. So more options. So consumers' incentive could be more options, more comfort with, more integrated product offers, same application for multiple services, and the cost advantage for those people for whom that's also a relevant thing. So that's how we believe that it could transform. It is going to be and you'll see humongous amount of innovation happening. For example, there could be, I'm just giving some, this is my favorite example, a lot of people would have heard. Like, for example, there could be one startup coming and say that, I'm going to create a buying application to non-resident Malayalis, to help them procure from their cities culturally relevant product, because they don't have to go and tie up with any of them. Those sellers are anywhere there. They have to only look at how to make the buying experience of those non-resident Malayalis with the Malayalam text and the Malayalam, script and the contextually relevant recommendations. So I'm just saying this opens up humongous innovation to come, and that is what could add a lot more values to the customer.
The other question from Professor Neena Pandey is related to accountability. In ONDC, who will have the accountability in case something goes wrong, since there are many entities involved in one transaction?
Again, as I told earlier, the customer will go to the places where he bought. And that person's job is to stitch, just like he took his search to the different components to help him to buy, he has to take to the different components to get it resolved. And if it ends up being a dispute, we have also established the idea of an online dispute resolution, which is also seamlessly can now help the people to sort of resolve the disputes based on fact, because there's a complete audit trail of who came and asked for what and what was offered to him, what was the agreement that they had, what is the payment they made, when was it made, when was it delivered, what was it delivered, all those things are there. So it helps to sort of resolve a lot of them. And now when you also have a large number of smaller players coming, you would see that their desperation to establish themselves and give good quality also will higher. You ask any of the bankers around here, ask them whether they have more of, where do they have more of NPAs, the big players or the small players? You would say just the big players who have more of, NPAs. Because for small players, that will kill their life. So that's why we are seeing, while we have, like, for example, 3.3 million transactions, definitely there had been issues, concerned, but it all got resolved. None of them has become a dispute. I'm sure there'll be a few disputes coming, but we'll have something like online ODR framework, etc., that will help to address this issue.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from Mr. Raghav, which is, can you brief us on the ONDC commission structure for the seller side and buyer side?
We don't have, as of now, ONDC charges nothing, and eventually ONDC may have some kind of very, very marginal fee from the transacting parties. Then we don't get and determine the market, the commissions of the buyer application or the seller application or logistics players. It is what we are enabling is a significant amount of competition, which will help different kind of applications to give different kinds of services. And competitive forces bring it down to discipline. And you would see even for the seller side, and there again it depends upon the product. For example, I've seen some of the seller side application coming and saying that earlier they used to have a percentage of the transaction. Some of them coming and say that I'm dealing with very small sellers. I'm only taking a subscription fee. And I've seen another one just coming and say that I'm just going to make this freely available because I'm creating it as an infrastructure, because I'm very keen to have a large cross section of, let's say, Kirana players participating actively in the traditional commerce and empowering them. So I will rather give the service as an infrastructure facility to my large supply chain, my distribution channel. So you are seeing all these things evolving. Some of them are at visible, some of them are under design stage by the different service providers.
Thank you. The next question is from Mr. Dharmesh. As the open network is very easy for access from the sellers and consumer point of view, in this context, how safe is it for the open network in terms of transaction and data security?
Like I said, one is safe. We have actually, I'm sure that you will like to have a larger, deeper thought on this. We have published a whole we have published a whole paper on the risk associated with there, and you can see that. I'll just add one comment to the data security issues. One thing that is there is, see, there is no central database, you would have realized, it's a network. So each network participants have the right of access to the customers' data only. So if you are dealing with a buyer application A, your details is available only to the buyer application A, and with details with respect to your data will be available to the sellers who sold to you. It is not like somebody who has stranglehold on the total data.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hardik Tiwari has a few questions. The first question goes like, what is the minimum requirement for enrolling on ONDC as a seller, and how a newly established business can start selling on ONDC? What are the incentives?
See, it depends upon which product. If you are an FPO, in fact, any of them are, essentially the minimum cost that you will have is to make sure your catalog is digitized. And based on which kind of product and scale of operations you have, there are different network participants. In fact, we have provided a seller's handbook in our ONDC network. You can do that. And then we have also published a complete learning infrastructure for ONDC Academy. I'm just giving the big picture. And there is also a WhatsApp bot where you can send a hi message and give you a sort of step-by-step input on how to become a seller, whether you come directly as a seller, as a network participant, or you come through an aggregator. But the point that I'm saying is, there is, if you are a person with a very, like I said, like a weaver in a small, or an artisan, to if you are on the other side, HUL, all of them have their own possibilities at their own cost that they can join. So it's not like a, big cost burden on anybody.
Thank you. And the next question is, how can I, as a freelance developer, develop an app for ONDC or integrate ONDC in their app?
Oh, everything, the whole protocol. Go to GitHub, every protocol, every documentation is lying there. Incidentally, recently, some 3 kids from BITS Pilani together developed something and showed us, and it sort of passed it was pretty good. And I told them, go and sell it to anybody who's wanting to do it and, make a business of it. That's the beauty. This enables humongous amount of, possibilities for innovation and specialization. Just making one thing is, every Tuesday, one of my colleagues does a detailed business briefing. If you send a mail to, let's say CEO@ondc.org, my team will sort of forward you the detail. Every Tuesday, there's a detailed business briefing who's to help people to actually take the decision on whether they want to join or how they want to join. And then there's a technical briefing on Friday to give them the step-by-step technical clarification, because the whole documentation is there in GitHub.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from Bharatidasan Rajamani. The question is on, please explain the scope and how government institutions can register and use this platform for their procurement.
No, you can use any of the buying application and buy whatever that is available, subject to the internal policies of the government. In fact, recently I saw that the DPIT secretary had written a letter to all secretaries in every central ministry and all chief secretaries, suggesting that they could use the ONDC gift coupon as a means of providing gift to their employees and everybody during this gift season. So that itself has been a sort of indication, a sort of guidance given by the Secretary DPIT. And I'm sure that based on which department that is there. So it's a question of, this is not an auctioning system. This is where, like I said, B2B and B2C, B2B has just come. So I think when you come to large scale B2B buying, I think there is a rule of, government departments using GEM. So this is not replacement of GEM. GEM will continue as a procurement platform for the government. And soon the GEM sellers also will be available in the ONDC network. That's also being planned. So, I can't give a very generalized answer. I cannot give a specific answer to you, but I can give you what are the possibilities it is shaping up.
Siddhartha has another question. Majority of the players on board on ONDC are large corporates. In light of that, are there any special incentives for MSMEs for motivating them to get onboarded on ONDC?
Hey, today in ONDC, if you look at the seller side, majority of them are small and micro enterprises. You would have seen the MSME minister's announcement that they are going to actually publish within a month's time the sort of schemes which will help the small enterprises to digitize and onboard, including financial support. And there are many entities like CDB and NABARD have already instituted those things. Some of the states have already instituted things. Some of the agriculture ministry, SFAC has instituted. You'll see all this diverse kind of already there, and you will see a lot more proliferation of those kind of assistance in the coming months, because all these departments and organizations have realized this is a common theme in which they can consolidate their effort to help the small and micro enterprises.
Pravi, we have a couple of questions. Can we go take one or two more questions?
I think it's sort of timing is, I think time is getting up. And like I said, there is a couple of things I'll tell you. There's an 8-minute video that is lying, which sort of, I think some 10, 12 languages that will help people to have a quick understanding. And it's very short. And somebody want to do a lot more can go to ONDC Academy and even get a certification, which is offered by National Stock Exchange, which has got a online digital education platform. But the whole study material is available on YouTube channel free.
Perfect. So I guess we'll share those reference links when we share with everybody the deck that perhaps you have used as you had mentioned. We will also share the links for the ONDC Academy. For any other questions that we have, since we are, we've touched the timeline, can we send those questions to you? Perhaps that could be answered, and we can relay those answers back to the audience.
Yeah, if you can send, we can give you the answers. And like I said, when you look at this, on the basis of the big picture I gave you, when you look at this, the study material that's available, 99% of your questions will get answered. But if there's still something left, please, I'll arrange to send you those links. My office will send you the links for the video and the ONDC Academy and so on and so forth.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. I guess then in that case, we can close this clearly with this particular session, given that we don't have so much time that we can cover all questions, but clearly it sets the tone of why ONDC will, or rather has, disrupted Indian e-commerce. I mean, whether it is to offer tailored solution to the Indian consumers, or demonstrating the potential to disrupt e-commerce in the way UPI is disrupting digital payments, or in terms of, using open specifications and network protocols that are independent on any one platform. I mean, these are some of the important points and issues that you've covered. This has been an exciting session. We will certainly share all the questions and queries that we have, and we look forward to receiving the links so that we can share it with all our viewers. Koshi sir, we'd like to thank you for coming and being a part of the Masterclass series of Being Future Ready in our 11th episode. And I would also like to thank all our viewers who have joined us on this episode with us. And a special mention to everyone who's been with us since the beginning. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, thank you to IIM Bangalore and NEGD and the ONDC team. Look forward for the next one, which is in November. So stay tuned. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.